Coach, good evening. Felipe Castro for Canal 7, Costa Rica. What is your stock take for Copa America? And personally, what is your learning? Well, as to a balance, being able to participate and playing against the opponents was already favorable to us. There was something we won there. This was a very tough group. We were playing against Brazil and Colombia, two of the four favorites as title holders for this Copa. And Paraguay is the sixth team for the Commonwealth standing, and they would be playing a playoff against a CONCACAF team. So with a very nice young generation of forwards, from the midfield toward the forwards, as you've seen, and not only considering this Copa America, but also the Euro Cup, we were the youngest squad. So we had a lot of aspirations, ambitions, doubts. Before we played against Saint Kitts, we were having our debut in qualifiers. The squad was playing PlayStation, and they were playing with Vinicius, and I told them, you'll have to face him as a real opponent, and he's faster than in FIFA's gaming for PlayStation. And after playing against Luis Diaz, James, and Colombia as a team, they were saying that it's so nice to compete at this level, to have the opportunity to play with these players. And I told them, this is the elite, this is the best of the best, and even if we are not able to move forward and advance to the next round, the USA has players that play in Milan, in Germany, and in the major leagues of Europe. And we are very young. And as we played more and more games, we had our strengths and our achievements and our mistakes, but we grew, and we're analyzing performance rather than results. Because today, maybe all is good because we won and everything was terribly bad after we lost against Colombia, but that is not how it should go. The important thing is that we learn, and that this was a very short tournament that we had to seize to the fullest. We started with small micro cycles of training, trying to change their mindset. The third chip, that they had to know that we were playing at a different speed, that there are spaces that we cannot concede because the individual talent of the opponent will find that space that normally isn't found by other opponents, and that we had to measure up to this level. So before starting the match, I was telling them that we had to play it as if it was the final of the World Cup, because we had very remote chances of moving onwards to the knockouts. But we had to win because I wanted them to achieve a victory. They are very humble players, and we knew it was uphill, and we want to show that they have the capability to train. I was talking to Axel Quiroz, and he told me it was marking Garnacho some time ago, Vinicius, Jalen Mitchell, and today he had to mark Enciso, Almiron, that type of player that is a top-notch player. And the players are saying, we feel that we are at that level. And hopefully they will bring them great opportunities. And if we wanted to win today, it was for Costa Rica, because we wanted to show the entire country that this generational renovation this very young team is thinking about the future of Costa Rica, and that we are taking care of it because it is in their hands. It is in the hands of these young players, and I told them that they have to give their best for every ball. They have to try to recover, and Contreras and many other players gave it all. Why? Because they were playing for their countries. They wanted to win, and they wanted to demonstrate that they have great ambitions, although they are very humble. Of course, there are many things that we still need to work on, but we have earned much, and they are decisive things, and this is part of the baseline work that we're doing in Costa Rica. Good evening, Carlos Serrano, broadcasting for Canal 6. There was an initial expectation in May. So how pleased or satisfied are you with the results of Costa Rica's national team in these 6 matches in a month and a half? Well, it would be just to add to my previous words. I am pleased, setting aside the results, because we are really highlighting them. And Carlos Pellegrini once told me that in football it's almost impossible to discuss anything without starting from the results, because we try, but we lost. So it's very important, the results. But I am convinced that results come as a consequence of a quest, and we are after a result. We try to achieve the results we want in every match, and we've had defeats, wins, draws, but we're always after the win. We have many things we need to improve on. We have to know how to deal with the pressure, and how to keep the ball when we are under pressure, and also to counter-attack and be lethal enough to define a match. If we think that a 2-0 is a done deal, yeah, no, that's not the case. You cannot define a match until you are 3-0 leading. So we're always thinking about the goals, and we're underscoring the ultimate result. But we kind of enlarge it, and we overlook what's transcendent. That is the path that takes you to the building of the goal. That is, of course, the end line, but what's most important is how we walk on that path. When I talk about achieving a result, it's not only winning. Sometimes in between you achieve a generational renovation, and sometimes there is a level of discredit when you are betting on that generational renovation, and it's not easy to undertake that risk and to assume those risks and bet on young squads instead of going for the well-known talent, the young players that played very few matches, and we might have been hammered by Brazil, Paraguay, Argentina, but those are the risks you take when you bet on growth. If I don't say it is, well, it would be easier to take on very little risk. And this is something that I also had to do in Ecuador. And I think that I would have transmitted them with the slow death virus if I hadn't done that. We don't want to be on the margin of a World Cup. And we prefer taking on the discredit, the criticism, all the challenging. That is why I was asking of you to criticize me, Campbell, Vargas, Keylor. Don't criticize the young players. We have to be cautious with that because they are most precious asset right now for Costa Rica. Just take care of them and be mindful of that. So I'm really focused on the path rather than the result. Gustavo, Teletica Radio, tomorrow after a 1 month camp or concentration, everyone will go back home. What will be your words for them? What is the head coach going to ask from them before they meet again in September, and to maybe improve on their own before they come back? Good question. We have requested many things from them. Some of them they already know. We have diagnosed concentration factors. We have analyzed the players not only regarding their physical aptitude and football-wise, of course, to see how we can level up, how we can measure up. And we have also diagnosed the concentration percentiles and where that concentration dissipates, where it goes. And it's a very important factor because football is all about details, and the skill to, or the ability to concentrate is related to being present, right? Being there where the action is happening. And sometimes there are situations that trigger distractions, and we can work on those factors even without being with the players. And we are preparing activities to increase the concentration percentile, and how we make decisions, when we need to make decisions, how we can generate some practical thinking for them to be able to make decisions in action. And then maybe sometimes we don't pay attention to that, but these are decisive factors because it's the time when I have to know how I can stop, when I need to stop, how can I realize what's going on, being connected with what's happening at the match. So we have to really work on that, even if we are not meeting again until September. In August, maybe we'll organize a local microcycles to work with the local talent, because some others might be playing in international tournaments or their own tournaments overseas. But what we really want is for the players that are overseas to show why they're there. Hopefully, many of our players that are local talent, this doesn't mean that I am disrespecting Costa Rica's local football, right? Because Vargas was just saying that everyone wants to play overseas in Europe. I think that Argentina save it for our money. All its players are playing overseas. That doesn't mean that they are less Argentine or that they don't feel their jersey. But what I told them is that they have a great responsibility. And those that play locally and abroad. And if they leave, they are taking a part of their country with them, and that they are our ambassadors, because they have to show what Ticos are made of, what Costa Ricans are made of. And we have a responsibility to be triumphant and be successful, but they also have to compete against the best. It's not enough to go overseas. They have to show that they are at the level of the best players, because they have the responsibility of opening doors. And if they are going overseas, they are representing the country, and they have to open the door for other players behind them. So they have to do that for their country, and that is something that I asked from them in my talk. Anthony Porres, Radio Colombia in Costa Rica. We hadn't seen this version of Joel for months. Very engaged, sometimes playing as a 10, as a 9, playing outwardly. So what is your take on Campbell's participation? Now Joel was the starter. What is your opinion on his performance? Well, great question. I think that in the match against Uruguay, the friendly, remember that he subbed in the second half on the right flank, and we were playing 2 days after that with a reduced team, and he crossed the ball and felt discomfort in his leg. And we were going to play against St. Kitts, and then we had the Copa America tournament, and after medical examination, there was no muscle injury, but it was a cramp, and he was feeling the discomfort. And we discussed that he was going to sub in if there is a need in particular. And the same against Granada, because we had been working with Joel for 6 months. We modified his routine for the gym, working with different weights so that we could take him to his best version. And he was very cooperative to work and get in shape. And he is always an alternative. I was teasing him and telling him that he was a great sub. Sometimes the sub that goes in wants to show that he's able to do everything, and they try too hard and they don't achieve anything. But he always contributes positively. That doesn't mean that he cannot be a starter. Today, all the subs that went in played really well. Even Cascante, that played for 4 or 5 minutes, he was really connected. Contreras as well. And Contreras was not part of some tactical work I did, but it was very important to show to the team that he was ready and prepared for whatever the team needed. And Joel, same case. He's the most talented player. So I told him, if you want to play 60 or 92, the fullest, do that. Don't save anything. If I see that you are reducing intensity, we can modify the game plan. But what I did ask from Alcocer is that Joel needs to be in contact with the ball, and we need him to be part of the play. We have to look for him on the field. And what I asked Alcocer to do is to have a position in between Madrigal and Campbell, to have 3 different lines of attack. Because if he remained as a forward, we wouldn't have the space, contrary to having him at the back, because he has a great speed when building up play. So he would be the third man to play down, to find Joel between the lines. And they played really well. They complemented each other, particularly in the first half. And then in the second half, we had a difficult time controlling the ball, but Joel is very smart. He manages time. He can create passes. He knows when to speed up, when to stop, and for that purpose, he needs to be in his best physical condition. Why? Because at the intensity level of this tournament, if you are not at your 120%, if you are talented, it's not enough. It is a necessary condition. Well, you have seen James Rodriguez has a similar profile to Joel, and he runs all over the pitch. He's appearing everywhere, like at the back, at the left, the right. Why? Because those are the players that don't look at the ball, they look at the field, they look at the game plan, and they find the spaces. That is why they are strategists, and that is what Joel does. And I have to play taking him into account based on him so that he can show his added value and his talent. And if we can keep him at this level physically, well, I told him I want to coach his best version, and I haven't seen that yet, but that is my goal. I want to thank Gustavo Alfaro for being present.